Hello everyone, today we are going to present our discussion about critical book review, that's also known as CBR. But before we start, we would like to thank M.Si for this opportunity, and we would like to introduce ourselves. We are Group 3 and my name is Efita Natasya Situmorang.
My name is Yola Frencika Sitorus.
Hello, my name is Ingga Tarigan.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Fenika Manurung.
Hello, my name is Agnes Sinaga.
Hello, my name is Hotnida Tambunan.
Hello, my name is Maureen C at Simarmata.
Hello everyone, my name is Laila Tusifa.
Okay, let's get back to the topic. Hope you enjoy it.
First, we have preliminary background. Criticizing book or critical book review is an activity to review a book in order to know and understand what is presented in a book. Basically, book reviews focus on evaluation, including explanation, interpretation, and analysis about the strengths and weaknesses, what is interesting, and how the book can change perception and ways of thinking, as well as a consideration of whether the knowledge gained the understanding of a particular field of study. Purposes. We make this review to fulfill one of the mandatory texts given by the lecturer in the English Business Communication course. Second, provide an overview to the reader regarding the identity of the book, the summary of the book, the strengths and weaknesses of the book, both in terms of systematic writing as well as the overall comprehensive of the book content and its simplification from various aspects. Third, adding insight to the critics because in the book presented problems and solutions that will enhance our knowledge. Benefits. As a student engaged in the world of education, the book needs to be criticized because they can improve student skill in making good and correct research report.
Identity of the book title is Handbook of Business Communication Linguistic Approach. Publisher is Deutsche National Bibliothek. Year of publisher is 2017. ISBN is 9781614516835. Number of pages in the book is 713. Author is Garlin Mauder and Franz Rainer with Christopher Rose. Reviewer from our group 3, and that's our finished review is 17th of April 2023. And summary of the book, Handbook of Business Communication Linguistic Approach, divided in 5 chapters and subchapters. In the chapter 1 about introduction, in the chapter 2 genre and media, chapter 3 foreign language and cultures, chapter 4 lexical phenomena, and chapter 5 is building bridges across discipline.
To explain about the chapter 1 and chapter 2 summary, and the title of chapter 1 is Introduction. Chapter 1 discusses the introduction of other chapters that we will discuss in this book. However, the chapter also briefly discusses the purpose of making this book based on expert views in the section carried out by G. Mauder and F. Rainer. This chapter also discusses about comparison between business communication traditions in two different styles, namely the American type and the European type. Up to date, the discussion of the chapter is continued in the discipline section of the name and the title of the book itself, as well as what is the focus when we study the book. At the end of the chapter, there is an explanation of the next chapters that will be discussed and their subchapters. Then, in the second subchapter, the history of the language of economics and business is discussed. And the title of Chapter 2 is Genres and Media, divided into 4 subchapters. And the summary of Chapter 1, the title is Genres in the Business Context and Introduction. This chapter discusses about complexity of business communication manifests itself, not only in the wide variety of target groups, frameworks of action and communicative goals, but also in the sense network or genres, both speaking and writing. And the summary of Chapter 2, Business Presentation. As within chapter emphasizes, side presentation provide a viable solution in a number of situations, such as customer contact and project-oriented work, especially given the patterns of the intensive work and the ever-evolving distractions and increasingly divide employee after attention. As a result, the boom is likely continue, following general trends in the media field and its use. And the summary of Subchapter 3, Business Negotiation. In these chapters, the authors have provided an overview of linguistically inspired research in business negotiation and demonstrated how it should be cross-disciplinary. And the summary of Subchapter 4, Business Meetings. This chapter talks about meetings attendees thrive in consensus, even making a decision in use discursive strategies designed to achieve this. If a conflict arises, the result to make these different strategies that will be enable future cooperation between them, particularly face-saving one such as topic transitions, conflict negotiation, and perhaps surprisingly humor.
Explain about the summary of Chapter 3, Foreign Language and Cultures. This chapter divided into 5 subchapters. The summary of the subchapter 1, the title is Intercultural Business Communication and Linguistic Approach. The summary is, this chapter discusses about the linguistic approach, focus on commonalities and sensitization rather than individual cases. Linguistic research is primarily based on authentic data, participant observation and field studies. Critical approach so that the intercultural interactions are not only shaped by cultural difference, but also by more or less invisible power that imbalance relating to race, nationality, and language. Subchapter 2, the title is Multilingualism in Business Language Needs. The summary is, this would allow language needs analysis to be firmly anchored in sociolinguistic and cross-linked with the neighboring disciplines. The subchapter 3, the title is Multilingualism in Business Language Policies and Practice. This chapter allows communication practices to develop completely free from language policy constraints, reflects, in a sense, certain policy assumptions. Subchapter 4, the title is English as a Lingua Franca in International Business Context, Pedagogical. This chapter presents clear scope for research-led empirical work on business English practice, particularly in the context of higher education. There also seems to be an increasing demand for analysis of the educational settings in which business English or business communication is taught. Subchapter 5, the title is Teaching and Learning Foreign Business Language. This chapter pointed the idea of that the learners, especially more advanced learners or mature students, should not simply be exposed to foreign language or specialized language as such. They should also be offered access to a degree of meta-knowledge about the opportunities and that their foreign language learning offers, and the hurdles
or limits that they may encounter. That's it for me. I give it to my friends. Thank you.
Chapter 4 about lexical phenomena divided into 5 sub-chapters. Summary. Chapter 1 is about economic structure and business term. This chapter discusses about the language that used for a particular purpose can be both a technology in the itself linguistic features that differentiates them common language and from other language for specific purpose. Chapter 2 about metaphor, metonymy, and euphemism, economic and business language. This will allow common features of human communication and thus by definition are present in all language and all types of communication. The purpose of this chapter is to analyze this aspect with respect the language of economics and business. Chapter 3 is about language planning and linguistic purity in the business domain. The topic of this chapter is language planning with a focus on linguistic purity, especially in relation to business language. The focus is on policy at the macro level, that is, all the stage or autonomous substage unit level. Business language can be influenced by language planning in a number of ways. Chapter 4 is about marketing language. This chapter presents the dynamic of marketing language depend on comings and a going concept, and this concept is turned depend heavily on the ongoing socio-economy, technological change, and innovation. A large number of marketing terms invent and become fashionable as new marketing emerges. Chapter 5 is about language of accounting. This chapter points to the particular accounting status is and various functional areas by business are also reflected in the fact that accounting itself is often referenced or to metaphorically and can be referenced to as business language in popular language.
Now I will present the material of chapter 5. The first part describes about spoken workplace discourse. To begin with the first question, workplace discourse refers to a broader range of communicative contexts and can be seen as including contexts in which business communication occurs. So while business discourse occurs within and between commercial organizations, workplace discourse occurs in all workplace contexts, including factories, hospitals, and the voluntary sector, as well as, of course, in commercial organizations. A spoken workplace corpora are usually small and specialized. Corpus analysis tends to be used in combination with qualitative methods such as genre analysis or discourse analysis. Even with relatively small corpora, the quantification carried out by corpus tools such as frequency lists, keyword lists, and concordancing can provide unique insight into the data that supplement or may even provide a starting point for qualitative analysis, as will be illustrated in this section. As corpus linguistic approaches are dealt with in a separate chapter in this volume, corpus methods will not be reviewed in detail here. Instead, some case studies of spoken workplace corpora will be reviewed with examples of how corpus methods have been applied and what insight into the data have been gained. The second part describes about organizational discourse. In economically developed societies, organizations are part of the fabric of everyday life. Our society is an organizational society. We are born in organizations, educated by organizations, and most of us spend much of our lives working for organizations. We spend much of our leisure time playing and praying in organizations. Most of us will die in an organization, and when the time comes for burial, the large organization of all the states must grant official permission. As a result, it is virtually impossible for most people not to be involved in organizational discourse on daily basis. Frequency of exposure would in itself be sufficient reason for organizational discourse to be a worthwhile object of study. The third part explains about corporate language and design. A brand is a set of assumptions and expectations associated with a brand name. Thus, consumers will make assumptions about what will be provide a product or a set of products or service, and what the product or service will be like a tasty, consistency, quality, efficacy of product, quality, nature, extent, accessibility for service, and etc. Equally, they can expect that consumers can expect a particular set of behaviors from the people behind the brand. There are also expectations about how the brand will look, its visual identity, and increasingly of how it communicates. For example, the language that it would and would not use in all the consumer touch points it controls, which could encompass everything from poster advertising to text message sent to customers. The fourth section describes about the risks of using standardized text modules as communication vessels.
Now let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of the book. The strengths of book. First, this book is well identified. The authors, ISBN, publisher, and year of publication are well listed. The second, every chapter in this book are discussed in detail. This present handbook provides us with a tour horizon of linguistic approaches to business communication. It brings the various trends of our research, ranging from the traditional LSP approaches to the contemporary discourse-based work. This book also reflects on the international interest of business communication. The third is this book, and every chapter in this book is developed into several subchapters, including the introductory, discussion, and conclusion. And every chapter follow the same format. The fourth, this book have the fair division of material units. The last, this book have picture, table, charts, so it makes the reader easy to understand. And now the weaknesses of the book. First, this book doesn't have any post-reading text, so the readers can apply what they have read. The second, minimum of color. Although this book is very comprehensive, the black and white text makes the reader easy to fill up. Board. The third and the last is this book doesn't have vocabulary list.
Conclusion: the present book has demonstration that what we call business language relates to a concept that has witnessed important change over time. in the earliest document of authors reconstruct state. Business language can hardly be distinguished from general language, consisting and most of a few business related words with a somewhat specialist meaning. This complexity manifests itself not only in wide variety target group, for frames of action, the communicative goals, but also in a dense network of genres, both oral and written. In addition to showing how these genres may be described and estimates, the contribution also set out the highlight the fact that texts are embedded in genre intonation and complex commutative practice. Overall, this book is very comprehensive and easy to understand. This book also very recommended to be referenced in making new research.
Recommendation. After we are read and critique the book from all chapters, we are think the author should be made the explanation complete without long explanation, so that can make the reader easily to understand what the author means and the are not confused when the art read the book. If there are many shortcomings in this critical book report, please constructive critique and suggestion, because with this critique and suggestion it will motivate from we are to be even better in making the next critical book report. The advantages of the book are to be featured, mentioned and strengthened, and the shortcomings of the books are to be featured, researched to achieve maximum result.
And that's all that we can say. If you have any kind of advice, please kindly put your comment below. Thank you for your attention. Have a good day.